Hello everybody. In this video we will try to understand what happens if a person has Taurus ascendant and the ascendant is in Rohini nakshatra and he has Jupiter and Saturn in conjunction in the ascendant, that is in the first house of course. But this conjunction, this Jupiter and Saturn conjunction, is in Krittika nakshatra. So what happens with this kind of placement? And let us say what happens if this particular horoscope is a female horoscope, how it differs. If it is a male horoscope, what happens? If it is a female horoscope, what happens? The common things we discuss, and also we check at the end how it is going to make a bit of difference with respect to males and females. Now, if you understand the basic thing here, the ascendant is Taurus ascendant, that is Vrishabha Lagna. And this Lagna is in Rohini nakshatra. And then Jupiter plus Saturn, this particular conjunction is in the first house itself, that is in the ascendant itself. But it is placed in the Krittika nakshatra. Of course, Krittika nakshatra is ruled by Sun. So the ascendant degree is in the Rohini nakshatra, but Jupiter and Saturn are earlier in Taurus, but still in the first house in the Krittika nakshatra. So Krittika comes before Rohini nakshatra here. So basically the Taurus ascendant, if you try to understand the behavior of Taurus ascendant is an earthy sign, it's a fixed sign. It's ruled by Venus. And if you understand the core qualities of this Taurus ascendant, they have the stability, beauty, material comfort, patience, attachment to possessions. This is the fundamental of Taurus ascendant. Taurus ascendant is called as a fertile farmland in Vedic astrology, right? Something like once planted, it nurtures growth slowly but steadily. The growth is ensured growth is confirmed in Taurus ascendant, but growth is a slow growth but steady growth, because the Taurus ascendant, the core quality is stability, patience. Now, this particular ascendant is in the nakshatra, Rohini nakshatra. What is Rohini nakshatra? It is ruled by moon. And what is the symbolism of Rohini nakshatra? It's an ox cart. It's a chariot. In ancient times, once the crop was coming, they were using these chariots or these ox carts to move those food goods from one place to another place. Also, it was a kind of basic commutation in those days. And Rohini nakshatra is known for its charm, creativity, attraction, strong desires, emotional attachments, and material prosperity. So Rohini is generally called as the star of growth. It gives magnetic aura also. Generally speaking, whenever a person has some Rohini energy, more Rohini energy, it's very easy. We give an advice to that person, just try in movies or any movie industry, or even at least in the web series industry, or a small scale movie industry at least. That's a fundamental thing for Rohini energy people. So if you think of Rohini, Rohini is a kind of a fruit-bearing tree. It's admired by all, but is very sensitive to seasonal changes. That is the fundamental energy of Rohini. It's called as the star of growth. It is magnetic in nature. Even if a person has more Rohini energy, you just look at the person, you will be attracted to that particular person. And now comes to this Jupiter and Saturn conjunction in the nakshatra Krittika. So Krittika is ruled by Sun. The symbolism is a sharp blade. Krittika means scissors in Sanskrit. So it gives qualities of discipline, right? And authority is cutting through illusions, but harshness is one of the important things related to Krittika nakshatra. So in Taurus, Krittika is a kind of nurturing, right? So it's like fire in the kitchen that cooks food. We discussed so many times. Krittika is nurturing in the whole zodiac. It is also one of the nurturing nakshatras. So even Kritikas are actually the 7 celestial mothers of Lord Subramanya, Lord Kartikeya. Right? The nourishment is present in the sign in the nakshatra Kritika. And in the spiritual level, if you think about Kritika, it burns away impurities. That is the energy of Kritika. There's a kind of purification energy present, and Sun is the ruler. So it's a kind of fire used in cooking. It can nourish if controlled, but can burn if misused. That is the Kritika's energy. So whenever you have Kritika energy, if you're able to handle it, yes, you're able to get lot and lot of nourishment. So as this particular native has Jupiter and Saturn in the nakshatra Kritika, yes, the person has some good amount of Kritika influence here. If he is able to handle this particular energy, yes, he can get a lot of benefits out of this particular conjunction. And you know, this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is one of the famous and classic yutis or classic conjunctions in Vedic astrology, because Jupiter is famous for wisdom, optimism, expansion, whereas Saturn is famous for discipline, restriction, and reality, basically, right? But there are some kind of complications here. We'll try to discuss the remedies also, if there are any for this. But see, together, Jupiter is a planet of expansion. It expands everything. Whereas Saturn is a planet of restriction or contraction. So there is a kind of push-pull between hope and despair, faith and doubt, expansion and contraction. There is a kind of push-pull between these two energies. So this gives a very serious personality, because this particular thing, Jupiter and Saturn conjunction, is present in the ascendant itself. So ascendant is nothing but the person's personality. So this definitely gives a very serious personality. Something like old beyond their years, right? Kind of, the person is a kind of, it seems to be the person, this particular person is beyond his years, basically, beyond their years. So if the person is like 25, let us say, the person would behave like 40, 45. Because see, there is a struggle between idealism, that is Jupiter, and reality, that is Saturn. It's a serious personality type for sure. And if you want to tell me with some realistic examples, see, a teacher, here Jupiter is the teacher because Jupiter is directly present in the ascendant. A teacher and a strict policeman is Saturn here. a teacher and a strict policeman sitting in the same classroom, how it feels like. See, the person feels both guidance and suppression at the same time. Guidance is because of the Jupiter, suppression because of the Saturnian energies. Right? How you feel when you see a particular teacher and a very strict policeman sitting in the same classroom. The same kind of energy you can feel here when Jupiter and Saturn are sitting in the ascendant, that is in the first house. And we can feel this kind of energy from the person having this particular conjunction in the ascendant. And I want to tell you, see how this impacts, whether this conjunction is present for a male native or female native. I'm not differentiating now, I will differentiate at the end, but for now the predictions I am telling are both for male and female natives. The first one I want to talk about is the personality and physical aura of the person, because it is present in the ascendant itself, in the first house itself. See, the person is definitely, it's a strong personality. It indicates a strong personality, a serious outlook personality. Attractive due to Rohini Lagna, of course. Lagna is directly sitting in the Rohini. Attractive, but see, because of this conjunction, it's a strong personality and a serious outlook. And of course, the person would be very attractive due to Rohini Lagna, but with a kind of a strong vibe due to Saturn, a kind of stern vibe you can feel, right? So Saturn gives that kind of vibe, the stern vibe. And others see them as wise, but cautious, you know. So when you see this particular person, you would see that particular person as a wise person. Yes, you can say that the person is wise. You can, just by looking at the person, you can say the person is wise, but cautious. He's very cautious. At the same time, the person is charming, and he or she is actually reserved type. You know, charming but reserved, you can say. So the person may look mature even when young. That's what I said, when they look old beyond their years. The person looks young, but the person is young but looks very mature. You know, that's what I mean by old beyond their years. And then there is an inner conflict. There is an inner conflict here, because see, Jupiter tries to expand self-expression. Because Jupiter is present in the ascendant itself, so the self-expression expands. Jupiter tries to expand, but Saturn makes them self-critical. Because Saturn is also present in the ascendant itself. See, they want growth because Rohini desires, and Jupiter's optimism also says, you know, I need growth. So they want growth basically, but Saturn and Krittika makes them cautious, delaying this growth or any kind of gratification. Saturn delays. Something like balancing dreams with discipline, right? So they balance their dreams with discipline. And then, as it is present in the ascendant itself, see, based on the ascendant, based on the nature of the native, the career also would be impacted, impacted to some extent. How? See, they can excel in fields requiring both wisdom and discipline, like teaching. They would be very good in teaching. Finance, law, government, agriculture, engineering, or management. Why all these things I am telling? Because wisdom and discipline both are required in these fields. Teaching, finance, law, government, agriculture, engineering, and management related activities, you can clearly observe wisdom and discipline both are required. That's where I can say, based on the nature of the person would be good in these areas. And Rohini Lagna, here Rohini ascendant in the Rohini Nakshatra, that Rohini Lagna adds some kind of creative or artistic touch So can work with some luxury goods, design, real estate or beauty industry, right? So that is how based on the nature we can decide, we can say the person can do something good in these career areas. And there is a spiritual impact also here. Because see, this conjunction, the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction in the first house, it forces the native towards philosophy, spirituality, or a religion also. After facing some delays and hardships in the life, the person would be attracted to spirituality, religion, philosophy and all. It's something like they become wise, they become very intelligent through suffering, because Jupiter and Saturn are present in conjunction in the ascendant. So the person would become like Jupiter's wisdom through Saturn's suffering, kind of. So the person would become wise through suffering, I can say that. And then, as you know, ascendant represents the health, the body of the native. So I can say something about health here. See, Taurus Lagna usually gives a very sturdy body, but Saturn can delay vitality, right? So the person may face some kind of dental issues or throat issues or digestive issues, because Krittika is fire and throat region as well, right? And Jupiter Saturn conjunction, this kind of a bit of critical conjunction is occurring in the sign of Krittika, and Krittika rules this fire and throat region. So I would say there can be problems related to dental, throat and digestive related things. Now I want to differentiate between male and female natives, means I want to tell something more if the person is male. Something like, see, here Saturn's influence may make him appear reserved and disciplined, but Rohini plus Jupiter, right? This particular Rohini in the ascendant, as well as Jupiter in the Taurus or Jupiter in the Krittika. Of course, I know we already said this. So the Rohini energy is present in the ascendant and also Jupiter's energy. Because of this energies, this particular energy together makes him attractive and charming as well, if the person is male, right? So if the person is male, the native may have struggles in early relationships as well, delays, mismatches, or being misunderstood, and eventually gets respect as a reliable and principled man through marriage, right? But it may require some patience as well. And I would also say fatherly responsibilities often come early, kind of, right? Because of this Saturn influence, a kind of fatherly responsibilities. The person may get some kind of responsibilities. I'm not telling he would become father early. I'm telling the fatherly kind of responsibilities the person may get early in his life, if the person is male. Only this part, right? A bit of male touch we gave here. What about the person is female, right? See, if the person is female, there would be some extra things I need to tell. Especially this Rohini Lagna makes her extremely attractive, magnetic and charming. But Jupiter and Saturn, this conjunction in Krittika, adds seriousness. So she may appear beautiful yet unapproachable, kind of, right? And marriage impact we need to discuss, because Jupiter is the significator of marriage for women. So Jupiter represents husband in female chart. So here Jupiter is in conjunction with Saturn, which is a kind of delay and restriction related planet. So marriage may be delayed, or the husband may be older or a kind of matured person. You can definitely say this, right? Husband may be older or kind of matured person, as this particular if it is mainly related to female horoscope. So marriage partner may be both wise and strict, or someone who plays both guide and disciplinarian role in her life. So she may also feel a conflict between desire for romance, because Rohini is present, and the reality of responsibility, because that is the Saturn. So that's about the marriage thing if it is a female horoscope. And another thing is, for females, I want to tell you another thing I want to add here, how it impacts her career. See, she likes to be ambitious, career oriented, especially in structured fields like law, teaching, government, finance, structured fields. And here, Jupiter Saturn gives leadership in organizations as well, but with slow and steady growth. This is very, very important, right? So, if this is a female horoscope, then these are the extra things I wanted to tell. And some more important things I would say for all the natives, again, for females and males, anybody, see how it feels like. It's something like the ascendant as a Taurus, and it is in Rohini, is a fertile farmland, is ready for crops and ready for good crops, I would say. Jupiter brings rain, that's a kind of growth, I would say, but Saturn brings drought, that's a kind of delays. So Krittika fire cooks the harvest, and it's something like life becomes a mix of sweet fruit and bitter lessons, kind of, because that is the energy we can feel here. And if you think it as a, let us say, you imagine a child, right? The native itself, let us take the native itself, himself will take, or herself. The native is raised by a kind teacher, is because Jupiter, and a strict judge as well, that is Saturn here. So how you feel? Let us take a child who is actually raised by a kind teacher like Jupiter and a strict judge like Saturn. Two people are actually raising the child. So the child grows with both wisdom and discipline, but also with some inner tension. You're getting it? So that is the energy we can feel. It's something like, such natives often succeed later in life, early struggles in self-expression, relationships or career, but with persistence, with a kind of, an amount of persistence is needed for this particular native, then they become respected figures in the society for sure, when they have that persistence. And you may say this push-pull impact is present in the lagna itself, and what are the remedies that this native can follow. See, this is not a very bad thing that Saturn and Jupiter are present in the lagna. It's not a very bad thing, but if utilized properly, it can make the person very much respected in the society as well, because a person having wisdom and discipline is a very rare combination, right? And then, but there is a push-pull impact here. The push is because of the Jupiter and the pull is because of the Saturn. And how to, so there is a need of balance here, I would say. So this particular clash between Jupiter and Saturn needs some remedies, because the native has to balance it, right? So to balance it, the person has to chant Jupiter mantra and Saturn mantra both. Then only both of them would have some kind of balance. And the person has to donate. He or she has to check, The ascendant is Taurus. So basically Jupiter is kind of 8th lord. So it's a kind of functionally malefic here, Jupiter. By nature it is very good, but what about its functional maleficity being the 8th lord? So the person has to donate yellow items for sure. Whereas Saturn is a kind of Yogakaraka planet here, right? So Saturn definitely gives that wisdom, definitely gives that discipline. So no need to donate much related to Saturn, but I would say something related to Jupiter has to donate, like yellow items, like turmeric, chana dal, especially on Thursdays. And to balance this wisdom, I would say the person better visit on Thursdays the the fundamental the fundamental energy of Shiva in the form of wisdom, the Shiva form. The person has to visit the temple of Lord Shiva in the wisdom form on Thursdays. So now the Shiva in the wisdom form, you can pray in the form of Dakshinamurti. So the person has to visit Dakshinamurti temple every Thursday, and that is the most important thing. And discipline and faith, see, there's a balance, optimism with reality. So better the person should do not swing between extremes. The person should not be too much realistic or too much optimistic. Avoid both, right? If any situation comes in life, to become more optimistic, just be cautious and also not be so realistic. And these are the remedies for both the genders, I would say, right? Now, see, visiting Dakshinamurti temple and also donating the yellow things like turmeric and chana dal are very, very good for this particular native. And another important thing I want to tell you, if the person is male native, so better the person, even if the person is a male native or female native, I would say the person has to respect teachers. And if any situation comes in life to disrespect teachers, better avoid it. Teachers and also pundits, right? So better the person has to respect them. And I would also advise, if the person is a female native, I would also advise one thing extra, that is worshipping Lord Vishnu. And also for both the natives, for both female and male, I would tell another important thing is Thursday fasting at night. And in these days, with this Jupiter being a functionally malefic and sitting in the ascendant, people are praying Lord Dattatreya or Shirdi Sai Baba. Also can be good. I saw so many people having, Taurus ascendant with Jupiter in the Lagna, Jupiter as the 8th Lord, and they are actually suffering because of the malefic impact of the Jupiter here, and they are actually praying Shirdi Sai Baba, and they're getting some good news in the life, but sometimes they're unable to continue with that good news, or somewhere they're struggling again. So that's where I would say, of course, you can pray Shirdi Sai Baba for sure, but I would advise, better than that, Lord Dattatreya, better than that, I would suggest Dakshinamurti. Dakshinamurti Stotram, right? Dakshinamurti Stotram, every day chant it or listen to it. If you're able to chant it, that is the best thing that you can do early in the morning. Every day chant it, and on Thursday, better you chant it once or twice or even thrice. It's a very good thing, Jupiter becomes very, very positive for you, and it is going to do miracles in life. So these are all the remedies I would say. So remedies, I purposefully said very, very slowly because you can understand them better, right? So always, if the native is a female native, better you respect your husband also if you're already married, you know. So even if you have some kind of a little bit of friction or some kind of problems with your husband, let us say, even if you have, do not have any kind of friction with your husband. Respect your husband. At least do not disrespect your husband. That I can tell you, right? So basically, this Taurus ascendant in Rohini gives charm and material desire for sure, and Jupiter plus Saturn in Krittika brings some wisdom with restriction, some seriousness with attraction, and it's a kind of delayed growth, but steady growth is very much ensured here. Is for men, it makes them reliable but mature beyond their years. For women also, it is the same case, but in addition to that, it can delay marriage. If seventh lord is very good, then this delay would be vanished. But marriage can give a strong wise personality. So life is like a fertile field where crops grow slowly but last long, and they grow steadily even though they grow slowly. So once success arrives, it is stable and respected. So follow the remedies. Thanks for watching this video.